Good afternoon, folks. We are live once again. Let me switch everything over to the proper layout, and we will get started with today's drawing stream. Okay, we should have audio and we should have video. Today's background music is once again coming from the royalty-free chill playlist. We'll go mellow today, as we like chill vibes here on the stream. Let me put the volume up a little more. I'll leave it there. All right, so what are we going to be working on today? We're going to be working on a continuation of the universe of fiction lore development with more character outfits. And I felt like drawing outfits today using the symmetrical templating here that we've done for several streams now. And so we're going to continue to build out set number 2. Kind of recap a little bit for folks who might be watching this after not seeing a couple drawing streams. We have 22 total concepts to do. And this is set number 2. Set 1 we've already finished. This is set 2. And we'll see how many we can get through today. Looks like we did the kind of bug themed outfits over here, and then the more kind of Western style outfits over here, like Western culture, not country Western. And I believe, trying to remember back to when we did this, it's been a hot minute, we decided that we weren't strictly going to stick to just one casual, rather regular clothing outfit and one armor. I'm just going to kind of do whatever comes to mind. If 2 regular clothing outfits come to mind, then we'll stick with that. If I decide I want to do 2 armor concepts, then we'll do that, and there won't be any set limits there. We're just trying to make the designs distinct. We'll start down here with the female base. It's going to be sort of a neck accessory, like a choker. For this one, I think we want to do... I'm going to do a casual outfit here. I just need to think of which race. Let's see if I can pull up what we did in the first set, so we cannot follow the same design philosophy. The question is, can I pull it up without having to hide everything? Okay, this is the design I was thinking of. think I know what I'm gonna do. We'll go more for a casual outfit. Zoom out a bit. This one is going to be kind of designed to be a bit more dressy. Oh, where's my symmetry plane? Okay. We'll keep that there to kind of keep our guidelines of where we're going to mirror. I think this is going to be a mix of symmetrical and asymmetrical design elements, so I might have to mirror some stuff to start. And then fill in the parts that are going to be more unique. And we talked about before how some of the garment designs for this particular race are inspired a little bit from traditional Japanese wear, things like yukatas and kimonos, but they incorporate a kind of more tougher or armored fabric, depending on if it's regular clothing or armor. This is going to be a sort of forearm bangle or bracelet type of accessory. The idea is that this particular garment cuts off right around the waist, so it doesn't kind of go all the way head to toe like some of the kimono-ish type garments. And in the previous version we did, it was a longer kind of more dress-like outfit with these long flowing sleeves that went down pretty much to the feet. So this one's going to be shorter. And the idea that would be that kind of more like a skirt. It's going to cut off around here. What we can do is fix that when we mirror it. And for the lower legs, we have maybe mid calf. He's gonna higher boots, high cutoff boots. And on the feet, I'm kind of just doing a rough approximation of like street shoes. Again, casual outfit. I think we could mirror it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up some things that are on the opposite side because it's not designed to be completely symmetrical. Let's duplicate this and flip it. And we'll merge these. And we'll just adjust the details that are going to be on the opposite side for parts that aren't symmetrical. And I think I'm going to put some writing character decoration patterning on the lower part of the dress. Maybe running right here like we've done on some of the other ones. Okay, now I just can clean up some of the edges and it will more or less be done. This one wasn't as complicated as some of the others, but I wanted to make sure I hit a couple specific design elements. Okay, let's hide the primary. I'll make it a little bit easier. Hey, first time chat from Princess Dark 9. Hello there. Welcome to the drawing stream. We are doing some character concept design prototyping today. Well, welcome. I am doing, well, it's been a busy day of work at the Earth job, but could throw on some chill tunes and brainstorm some ideas for character outfits. Here, let me zoom out a bit and show you what we've been working on. This one in the corner is one we just finished. Since we started the stream, I just realized that the skirt patterning is very similar to this one. I can always fix that later. But the exercise that we were working on, that we've been chipping away at over several streams, is coming up with male and female character outfits for different races from a universe of fiction that I write in. And you can see we've got several designs underway, but when I was talking about at the top of the stream, for folks who might not have seen me do this before, our end goal, to hide these real quick, I'm going to save my work so I don't forget. Our end goal is to end up with 22 total concepts. And so here's a full page. This isn't all 22, but in our last series of exercises, we finished 2 pages for the full 22. And it took several streams. The idea is to potentially do it faster. There's one, and here was the second one. And the idea would be to play around at different concepts for kind of casual, regular clothing outfits and armor, or armor, rather. And so that is our goal. We'll see how productive we are today. And this is a bit of an exercise in design contrast. Okay, let me adjust this here so we're not following the exact same shape as one of the other concepts we did previously. There we go. Okay, we'll call that one good, and let's work on the counterpart design for the male model. Okay, the sort of basic proportion sketch base that we're using is the same across all these, just to keep kind of consistent. like I've talked about on previous streams, the idea is not to worry too much about character specific builds or any of their physical attributes. It's more the outfit. Otherwise, I'd be using a variety of different bases with different proportions and builds, but that's kind of not necessary for creating the designs. I do like that they're a bit more consistent, so if I do end up taking one of these outfit designs and adapting them for a character, then I can just adapt the design based on any other specific attributes that goes into the character themselves. Okay, for this one, I think I'm going to go more of an armor type design for the male counterpart here. And I have an idea for something that I don't think we did before. Do a quick reference. So I know it was on... Okay, we had more of a coat. For this one, we're going to focus more on asymmetry. Even though we're going to be mirroring some parts of it, this one is going to be probably more asymmetrical in design compared to this one over here. Do something different. This one's going to have a bit more of a guard around the midsection. Again, going for armor this time. More armor than clothing, regular clothing. Keep the flared sleeves, but we're going to give them some protection. Same thing kind of on the mid bicep. This would be kind of like the equivalent of the arm accessory here, but more of a heavy plated guard for the upper arm / bicep area. Now for the legs, I'm gonna go for kind of like a heavier, like a military fatigue, dense material protecting the legs. And we'll have armor on the lower legs. these would be more like, not really shin guards, because they cover the entirety of the area from like right below the knee here down. The idea that it would be sort of like lower cut greaves, things meant to protect the lower legs. I don't like the armor equivalent of these boots here, but higher up in coverage. Okay, I'm trying to clean up the edges of the line art and sketches as we go. But it's okay if the overall design's a little more rough, since, again, these are sketch concepts. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to mirror everything, and then I'm going to focus on the spots that are going to be asymmetrical in design, since, like I mentioned, that's going to be the main focus of this particular one compared to the first. So we will just duplicate this layer and flip it, and then we're going to do quite a bit of heavy editing on this one. That's okay. Okay. The idea that I had here for what on our view perspective is the left side of the body, the figure's or model's right side. First, let's clear all this out. The idea is that the kind of long flowing coat only covers the right side, and on the left is more left open, and it's going to be armored, so it's not like this is just unprotected all the way down here. But the idea would be maybe this particular character in combat focuses on weaponry that requires more free use of parts of the body, kind of similar to the way archery works. And so this side isn't going to be covered with the more bulky sleeves. Instead, the arm is more free, but still protected by like a lighter. I'm doing kind of like an armored bracer here for the forearm. Yeah, it might be a little bit tough to see here without actual colors, but the idea is that this particular model, this character, is wearing like an actual shirt underneath all of the garments here. So in order to increase mobility, be kind of like a heavier armored shirt. And that's protecting what looks like bare skin here, at least down to the forearm. So if we just hatch it a little bit, it's not the best way to convey that this is a different color, but should be clear enough what we're trying to do here with this part of the outfit. It's like a bodysuit or like a shirt that goes under. And this lower part, we can keep that the same, but kind of similar to what we did over here with the decorative writing. We're going to do that here, part of the garment itself. There, it'll be easier to see if we hide that. I think the necks are a little too long. Okay, what we can do is sort of roughen the rest of the details, but hopefully now it's a bit more clear what I was talking about when I said I wanted it to be asymmetrical for this particular design. Okay, let's zoom out and compare and contrast with the first one. So to recap, the idea here would be more armor approach on the left and more casual, regular clothing approach on the right. Something I'd like to give some more thought into in future streams. I don't know when, but the idea of color paletting, since whenever we do these particular brainstorming sessions for these character concepts, I talk a lot about the different race-specific attributes of the clothing a lot of the times, and the armor, specific styles or features that only that one particular race shows in their attire. But we don't really talk about color paletting a ton because these are all sketch concepts. But this particular group does favor slightly darker, more obscuring colors because their attire in general, not in every case, but in general, is more covering than some of the others. The female model here has got a bit of a mix because the dress or skirt's a bit shorter, but in general, you're going to see characters that have longer, more flowing clothes that cover more of their body compared to some of the other ones. And so the color tones, common, thinking back to the lore accurate color paletting, would be a lot of kind of magenta, dark purple, grays and blacks, mixed in with some lighter shades and accents, maybe pinks or like a light red, but you're not going to see a lot of like bright greens, really kind of more fluorescent type colors, bright blues, oranges, and earth tones, not as much. But it wouldn't be an interesting exercise to do like a color theory episode. It would just mostly be me yapping and talking about color palettes and color combinations. I don't know if that's necessarily really that compelling for folks to watch here, but I'll give it some thought. At the very least, doing like a color swatch combination for each group and say, hey, here would be a typical combination of colors. That might be easier. Okay, so we've got six per row is roughly what we were talking about before at the scale we're doing. So that'll be 12 and then 10. Unless I yap a ton on these streams, since we usually end up going for a couple hours. If I'm really productive and firing on all cylinders, I might be able to get 5 or 6 of these done at once. Or if I'm yapping too much, then it might be 3 to 4. So we'll see. There's no set amount that I try and get done. But we will move on to the next one. And I'm going to grab some reference information from the previous set. Here, I'll point out what I'm going to be doing for the next one. It's not this page. We're going to focus on these people up here, these two in the upper left. This is from a race that's from like a water planet. That will be interesting. Okay. I might have to refer back to this one to see what we did. Maybe we'll move these two over. The whole row, move it over just so that it's not overlapping. There we go. Okay, maybe we go casual attire for this one. I gotta think a little bit about some design concepts. I think what we did in one of the previous sessions, it's not something that I can really show on stream because I'm a VTuber, but I went into my old sketchbook of old designs from many years ago, and I pulled out some old designs for some of these characters, and we kind of repurposed and modernized them and sketched them out in a format here. We could do that for this one, since this particular group, the water planet people, their attire is a little more specific than some of the others. Let's see how we do first, just to start. What I'm thinking is we kind of like a cut-off short sleeve shirt garment, kind of like a diver's suit, something that people who either, I'm thinking of kind of like surfers or folks that have kind of like that flexible material to be water dynamic, but also to protect them against hazards when they're out there in the water. So let's start with that idea and see where we can go with it. I think the term I was thinking of was like a wetsuit, but not entirely covering the body from head to toe. Similar type of material though. Flexible material that is meant for good mobility in the water. This one I'm thinking, since it's meant to be a little more cut off, would cut off right on the sleeves, about bicep level, and at the knees. So again, not full body from head to toe, but pretty close. I kind of like the idea that there'd be decorative markings or writing or patterning on different parts of the outfit too. Okay, this one's going to be more symmetrical, so I think a lot of our work is done. We just have to mirror it. Alright, let's mirror it and start cleaning up the final sketch here. Have the insignia on one side. All right. Not a ton of cleanup to do. This one is definitely less busy than some of the other ones we've done so far. And that's not a problem. I think the other counterpart design is going to be a little bit more busy if we go the armor route. So let's move you over. Make sure we save. If there's two things I'm really bad at on these drawing streams, it's one, saving my work as I go along, and two, making sure I start on a separate layer. We're doing all right so far. Okay, I think I am going to go the armor route for this one. So if you think the idea behind the casual attire with the kind of wetsuit-ish type of outfit, again, for a race that spends a lot of time in and out of the water, the concept that I came up with a while back when I started designing these for this particular group would be like the idea of combining protective sections, plates, etc., with a wetsuit that's going to cover more or less the entire body. It'd have to be a material that's flexible enough that you could still swim in it, and light enough that it's not going to be an anchor if you're in the water. So that will be an interesting challenge for this one. Okay, this one, the legs are going to be covered by much more high protective garments, and by high I mean further up. Instead of being lower leg entirely, it'll be more like kind of high greaves that go pretty much all the way up to almost past the quads. Okay, still mulling over a good way to do the equivalent of kind of protective gear on the arms. But we'll get there. I think we're just going to do the arms last. Okay, same style of footwear. The design philosophy for the footwear would be essentially boots or kind of a heavier foot protection that, again, offers good mobility in a water type environment. So it wouldn't be heavy, like heavy boots, more like kind of mid or lighter weight, but still protecting the feet. Alright, can't put the arms off any longer. My thought here was to have covering that goes at least up to the shoulder, since this part here would be kind of the front-facing part of the upper arm. And this bit down here would be connected. I think the whole thing would be connected. So this is more like a kind of a full body protective suit. But maybe it would be functionally more realistic to have it cut off right at the joint of the arm here. And then this is a separate piece, like an armored forearm guard. Going all the way down to the hand. Okay. That should be a little bit distinct in design from the other one in the previous set. Kind of curious if I accidentally just did the same thing for the armor equivalent. We can find out. Not really. The similar idea we're talking about up here. Similar idea, but not the same sort of shape in the patterning of like the plating and the way the protective parts kind of cover. So that's good. At least we're not just duplicating the same idea every single iteration. Okay, let's see if there's anything else we want to clean up, and then we'll mirror this one. This design is also going to be symmetrical. That is definitely a common design theme for this particular race. I do like their symmetry. But I think because we're dealing with outfits that need to be functional in water, unless it's very specifically designed, you're probably not going to have something like this outfit here, because one, having such a flowing upper garment in general isn't going to serve you too well if you're having to swim in it, and having it be kind of uneven and covering a portion of the body instead of being something that's more kind of sealed against the body to protect water from kind of flowing freely throughout the garment. You wouldn't want that. So we'll duplicate this. And we'll merge them down. We just have to connect everything together, and then that should be another one finished. Okay, let's compare the final results, and we'll save here before I forget again. Yeah, my mic is coming loose. All right. So we kind of did the exact same progression. We did a casual, regular clothing outfit, and then we did a more protective armor type outfit. Overall, with the focus on, again, symmetry for these particular ones. After looking at the previous iterations for this particular race, I think we did enough different that I don't feel like I need to go back in here and overhaul anything. So that's good. Thinking about color paletting, since we talked about that for the previous group, as you would expect for a group that spends a lot of time around, in and out of water, their coloring on their armor and clothing does reflect that a pretty decent amount. So a lot of different shades of blues, lighter and darker greens, some accent colors with like kind of a yellow or pale yellow, but very kind of aquatic shades for the color paletting. You're not really going to see a ton of like reds, maybe some purples, but not really a ton. Not a lot of oranges or earth tones again for here. There's a lot of more blues, teals and cyans, different shades that fall in the kind of category of blue color tones. And I believe the writing on the decorative writing you'd see would be like a silver color to kind of contrast with the darker, more water shades. All right, well, that is 2 more down, making decent progress. I was thinking, let me go grab the template. I don't know if I'll jump to it just yet, but I was thinking another thing we could do just to switch things up on the format for the drawing stream today is jump to the character faces template using the same forward-facing symmetrical plane, because again it's a little bit easier to crank out a lot of designs quickly. But if we go to instance number 10, it has been a hot minute since we were working on this one, but same basic idea. This one, I don't think we're going necessarily by the different races because it's not as important. The main idea would be experimenting around with facial features and physical attributes, and then primarily hair. I do like messing around with different hairstyles. As I want to say this was maybe 1 or 2 streams worth. I honestly can't remember. It's been a while since we've been focusing on outfits for so long. But we could jump back to this. See if we can add some more entries in here with different hairstyles. That might be kind of a fun way to switch things up. Because I do need to work on actual character attributes that aren't just faceless models. And I think we were going for alternating male and female designs. That is Let's go. Like. Oh, I see we got a raid. DD Raspberry with a party of 3. Hey, what's up, folks? Hey, thanks for the raid. Let me get a shout out for DD. How are you folks doing today? Let's see, this should do it. What were you folks up to today? Silent Hill 2. Ooh. Spoopy games. You're about a month early. But how did the Silent Hill go? I have not played the Silent Hill series, but I've watched a lot of Let's Plays of people playing them. So I know they can get pretty scary, I guess. Very psychological. But hopefully fun times were had. Dee Dee says it's a personal favorite. Nice. Oh, the series has had quite a few entries over time. But to kind of, for folks jumping on, I'm just jump to a brand new document here. Let me explain what I'm doing on the drawing stream today. We are working on character outfit designs first. This is what we spent the good portion of the stream working on, sketching out armor and clothing designs for some fiction / lore universe that I write for. Didi said, had to cut it short. I'm not feeling too well. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I won't keep you, so if you have to go and take care of yourself after streaming and after jumping on here with the raid, then feel free. Take care of yourself, drink some water, and get some rest. These archives always go up here on Twitch when they're done, and over on my YouTube channel, since Twitch deletes VODs after a certain amount of time. But yeah, again, just take care of yourself. Didi says, I'll stick around for a while. All right, well, it's pretty chill. You'll get the joy of listening to me yap for a bit. Since for this type of work, I do a lot of kind of thinking out loud when it comes to what we're designing or what we're developing. But for a real broad summary of the goal here, this particular universe of fiction that I write for, and I haven't shared stories or anything with the community at all, which reminds me, since I think this is the second time you've rated me, I always forget to link my Discord. So much that I forget the command, but that should be it. Unless it's one word. There it is, it's one word. For folks who stop by, if you want to join the Space Bee community, it is a pretty chill group of folks. And I share a lot of information for the projects that I'm working on over there as well, when it comes to not only the art that we occasionally finish here on stream, but my music projects too, which I think I mentioned in your stream, Didi, so I won't go into it in detail here. But all of the stuff that I work on is also linked in the Discord, and overall it's a pretty mellow place. So if you feel so compelled to join, feel free. Didi says, thinking out loud is the way to go. I do the same. Yeah, I feel like I have to sort of narrate a bit and explain what I'm doing. One, because it's from a project of mine that's been ongoing for a while. But also, I honestly don't think anyone would come to these streams if I was just drawing and not talking at all, which is what I usually do if I'm on my own time working on stuff. But let me explain this other one that I had on screen when everybody jumped on here. This is the same idea of sketching out concepts and ideas for characters, but focusing just on their faces and heads. This is a primarily hair-based exercise, but in sketching out, eyes and other things that go into the faces. It's something I try and do also, since I don't just do outfit sketch concepts. And I was thinking, since we spent the good portion of the stream to start doing, let's see, where's my pencil? These 4 right here were what we finished today. I thought it might be fun to jump over here and do the same exercise, but with some character heads. So let's see what interesting concepts we can get out of that. Didi says, that's true. Hearing yourself talk out the ideas triggers more creativity at times. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I'm kind of the type of person where if I'm not interacting with anything or anyone else, then I will just sort of focus intently on what I'm doing. And if I have an idea of what I'm supposed to be working on, as opposed to like a free-form exercise like this, then I'll usually just go on autopilot, and that doesn't make for good content. So that's why no matter what I'm doing, whether it's playing a game, working on music, or drawing like we do occasionally here, I try and do more of like a narration just to explain what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. I think it comes from a history of doing Let's Plays on YouTube before I was a VTuber. Okay, hair. Unique hairstyles. Oh, I remember what we were doing before. We were pretty much mirroring everything up to the hair, since I have a serious problem with getting things level and symmetrical when it comes to front-facing perspectives like this and like the eyes. If I do it completely freehand, it'll skew to one side for sure. But that'll also give us a bit of a frame for an area to work with when it comes to the hair. No, I'm working on the wrong layer. I didn't even think about that. Reset the clock. That's the first time today on stream I've started working on the wrong layer without creating a new one. We want entry number 12. BD says, I did the same before. Doing some Let's Plays before tackling a stream is a good way to prep yourself for the streaming world. I agree. Being comfortable talking to a screen / mic / camera is something that's good to develop, especially when you're just getting into content creation. And depending on the type of streaming you want to go into, I feel like just being used to talking and being comfortable more than anything else is important for just being able to get into a content creation environment, whether you're creating YouTube videos and doing narration or you're interfacing with a live audience like on stream. And that's not easy. It takes some practice. Thankfully, before I decided to become a VTuber, I was doing content on YouTube under a previous life for several years. Kind of a mix of art and video games. But not music. I decided to get into a type of content that would focus on music a bit when I became a VTuber, just because one, I hadn't done it before, and two, at least at the time, and I think it's still somewhat the case, but at the time there were not a lot of beatboxing VTubers. There's several that I know personally, and just looking around like on YouTube and Twitch, I know they exist. One of my streamer peers, who I think is on kind of an indefinite break, the Prince, he was one of the first people I met just randomly in content, is also a beatboxing VTuber. So I'm not saying it was designed to be like the gimmick per se, but it was something that is a bit more unique. But honestly, when people just stop by, unless someone redeems the drop a beat, I don't actively advertise that I do that. And unless I'm doing a beatbox jam stream, which we do every once in a while, I guess it's not something people just witness, because I'm really bad at promoting myself. Okay, I'm thinking we go short hair. Didi says go with your passions. But there's the problem. I have too many passions, too many hobbies. My problem is picking up new passions and new hobbies, so I'm trying not to do that so I can focus on the ones that I've got. Well, that's true. When it comes to creating content in general, it's important that you are invested in and care about what you're doing. Otherwise, it'll just become another job. And I do this to get away from my job. I think that's also why, when it comes to games specifically, I tend to focus on games that I want to talk about or that I want to play, as opposed to what's popular or trendy. Sometimes it'll coincide, like when a new Monster Hunter game comes out and everybody's playing it, since that's my favorite video game series. But other times it'll just be games that have either been on my list to play that I want to talk about and share with my community, or games that I have a history with that I can talk about a lot and get into kind of more of the analysis, which I know is kind of a thing for what I've seen in your streams, Didi. When you have a game that you know well and you can talk about, then that's a lot of the discussion is going into kind of the intricacies of what your history is or what you know about it. That was definitely what convinced me or motivated me to play through God Hand back when I was just starting out. These are years ago now. But God Hand's a game that not a lot of people think about. But it's a game that is one of my favorites, and I have a lot to say about it. So even though it's pain, I streamed that one over the course of several playthroughs with the help of some of my friends from the Toxicure community. And we have a first-time chat from Gremlin Energy 98. That's a great name. I gotta agree, go with some of your own personal faves or classics. Yeah, I think as long as you can find something interesting to talk about, then that's what matters. Whether it's a completely fresh experience with something or something that you know well. And the point is to have a good discussion, to be able to bring that to all the folks that are watching it on stream or in the archives. That is also what spurred me to play through Zelda 2 Remastered, which is what we just started last week and will be hopefully continuing tomorrow as long as work doesn't interfere with my schedule. But that had been on my radar for a bit and then I forgot. And so we started playing through it to see how much of a different experience it is from the original Zelda 2 on the NES. And it has been a very different and fresh experience. Didi says, when I play with a retro title, I go on and on, personal experiences, funny moments, etc. Yeah, exactly. When it comes to something that you have a history with, then it opens up a lot of discussion points when it comes to, hey, here's something that is from, my experience from back in the day or whatnot with this particular game or whatever media it is. And I personally think that's fun to listen to when I watch other people, creating content, whether it's games or talking about other media. Didi says, Zelda 2, you're a fan? Yeah, so we can talk about that a bit since, again, that's one of the playthroughs that we're doing here on the channel. I played the original way back in the day because, as you may have heard me talk about before, I'm extremely old. And I played it back in the day when it was brand new on the NES. And I think it's a good game, but it's flawed. It falls into the similar category as Castlevania 2 to me, where I do like a lot about the game, but there's a lot that makes it a less optimal experience and kind of hampers the overall kind of experience in general for people. At length have talked about for Zelda 2 specifically, it's a bit cryptic. The formula deviates a lot from the first Legend of Zelda, which to me is fine because if it was exactly the same, it'd be less interesting. But, on topic, have you ever heard of the Zelda 2 remastered version, Didi? It's been around for a couple years. I just forgot about it. And then it popped up on my recommended recently and reminded me that it's out there. If you haven't heard of it, I'll kind of explain, and I might be able to link it to you later. Okay, while we're talking, let's work on another. Another Face. Okay, so you have heard of it. You played all the way through it? Okay. I was very surprised when I started the playthrough last week. And overall, the improvements in the game, I think, greatly elevate the experience from the first one. Just getting through, we did the first 2 palaces in the first session, and I liked a lot of the things they added. I'm curious to see how it plays out. The intention is to beat it on stream, but like things like town fast travel using that kind of underground system, that's great. Apparently the way level up perks like attack, experience, magic, and health have been retooled a bit. But yeah, overall, the early game experience has been leaps and bounds better, and that I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would just be kind of incremental improvements. And then there's new stuff too. There's new things hidden throughout the game. The addition of a in-dungeon map, good lord, that alone is a massive game changer. Being able to Metroidvania style see where you're going and see where you've explored in the labyrinths, the dungeons, that alone would have made the game significantly better if that was the only change they ever made. But yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into the game some more and just exploring around and seeing what's changed, since I roughly remember how to progress through all the stuff. I haven't played through the original Zelda 2 in forever. It's been a while. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna mirror the details here so that we can work with the face when designing the hair. They also retooled the villagers when you go to the towns a bit. One, they've retooled the towns, but the things that the people say is a little more helpful, I noticed. Again, only 3 towns in. I think Saria is the one that crosses the river, but just having them say like, oh, you know, this is hidden over here, or you might find something of interest here when you have an item. That's one thing they did for the Castlevania Redacted ROM hack, which is a very similar concept. Oh, am I working on the wrong layer again? No, I think we're alright. Nope, there's the wrong layer. Reset the clock again. But yeah, I don't know if you ever played Castlevania Redacted. It's another ROM hack it's older than the Zelda one by a bit, I think. But I played through that one. Oh, that was before I became a VTuber a long time ago. But that one also, if you like the original Castlevania 2, but again, like me, feel like there's a lot that's flawed about it, the Redacted version does fix a lot of things. GD says, sorry about derailing the conversation to Zelda 2. Oh no, that's okay. I have been very interested in that redone version, so it's been on my mind lately, so there's no worries there. But let me see if I can just Google search it. Castlevania 2 Redacted, or Redaction. Okay, I think if you just search for Castlevania 2 Redaction, it's pretty easy to find. Looks like a lot of just regular sites are hosting it, and you shouldn't have to dig too much. But I recommend checking it out if you have a fondness at all for the original. Like, one thing they changed that is pretty big is the day to night transitions happen instantly instead of having to wait for the text crawl and then you wait for the screen to change, and it happens all throughout the game. So that's no longer a problem. It's just, oh, it is now day or night. You get the pop-up that says, you know, what a horrible night for a curse, just pops up and then the screen immediately fades and changes. You don't have to wait for the whole text crawl. The villagers, kind of like Zelda 2, villagers give actual game specific hints. So the dialogue's been overhauled. Overall, it's I wouldn't say the experience is night and day different, since the Castlevania 2 redaction didn't add content, but it fixes a lot of the outstanding issues that hampered the experience in the original. And I definitely enjoyed it more. It's kind of like a version 1.5 as opposed to the Zelda 2 remaster, which is like a version 2.0 almost. Didi says Castlevania 2 needs a lot of work, so any ROM hack that improves it is excellent in my book. Yeah, I agree. I think the overall flaws in Castlevania 2 are a bit more significant than the ones in Zelda 2. Interesting that it's the second sequel where they tried something different. Where, 20, 30 years almost later, random people on the internet have gone back in to quote-unquote fix what affected the experience initially. Or I'm focused on the fact that I didn't like the way I drew the mouth here. But it is neat the way kind of more modern tech goes back to kind of remix the experience with things like retro games. It was, a couple years ago now. Didi says, I think I might have seen this ROM hack before. Ego Raptor talked about it in his Sequelitis video about Castlevania 2, which is now Ancient. He mentioned it there. That's where I first saw it. So I picked it up and tried it after hearing him talk about it, way back when that video first came out. But I was saying on stream, this was years ago, but I did a playthrough on stream with everybody, with a friend of mine named Matt from, again, the Toxic Gear community, where we did A Link to the Past randomized, and that was a lot of fun, but good lord, was it hard. We ended up getting stonewalled on like the Book of Medora for a good portion of the game. Like the first half of the game, we were stuck because we couldn't figure out where the game decided to stick that, and it ended up coming down like a random cave that we just never checked. But it was really fun having stuff be spread all over the place and your overall progression being different from the default experience. Okay, what do we want to do for hair for this one? Maybe go for bangs. Maybe go a little bit longer, or we can even go like really kind of crazy and go like an asymmetrical length. Clearly this is just bleed over from the one stream that I co-hosted last week with Wazzy, where we were talking about 2000s era scene girl hair. wouldn't necessarily have the stripes on it, but DD asks, what program is this, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, no, good question. This is Clip Studio Paint. Give me 1 second. I do my drawing like on tablet, in quotes, drawing in Clip Studio, but I do my pixel art in Photoshop just because I have Photoshop specifically configured to do pixel art. So I work in both. Give me 1 second. It's kind of an important message. Didi says, I'm more familiar with Photoshop myself, but it looks very similar, so that's why I asked. Yeah, Clip Studio, which used to be Manga Studio, if you remember back when that program was sort of just getting a lot of exposure. It, interface-wise, and I don't have mine configured in like a real specific way, it's just kind of a lot of the default. It's very similar to Photoshop. But one thing I appreciate about Clip Studio is that its system footprint is a bit lighter. It doesn't hog system resources quite like Photoshop does, really at all. And it does pretty much everything Photoshop does, with some animation stuff that I don't really know how to utilize at all. But overall, it's my go-to for drawing because I have this one configured the way I want it to draw, and then I work with Photoshop for the pixel stuff, like I mentioned before. He says it doesn't. Yeah, system-wise, this one doesn't push like a system's resources quite as much as Photoshop, and it's cheaper. Until recently, when the company sort of changed their model, which made a lot of people pretty upset. For Clip Studio, you just buy it once and you're done. I don't know if they still do that, but either way, like I paid less than $100 for this program eons ago, and that's it. I have to pay monthly to use the Adobe products, which I don't love, and it bugs me a bit, but considering how long I used a pirated version of Photoshop for, I figure it kind of balances out. But in fact, I'm kind of curious about that. It's Clip Studio purchase, because they switched to a subscription-based version, but do they have just buy it forever? So Clip Studio Paint Pro, which is the version I'm using here, a perpetual license will cost, at least according to their site when I looked it up. They have a subscription-based thing which comes with some cloud storage and other stuff, but the perpetual license is $58.50 USD, so $60. The EX version, which I don't remember what that one does, is more expensive. That's $260. But the base version, which is again what I'm using here to draw, $60 USD. And it looks like that's still a flat rate. But if you want some of their package deal stuff, they do have a subscription thing, which is, how much does that cost? 99 cents a month. And you could do it 12 months. A 12-month license is $27. I think if you were going to actively use this for stuff, just buy it once. The perpetual license, $60. Yeah, considering how much it costs for like a full license of Photoshop, that's pretty significant when it comes to what you're paying for. Indeed, he says that's probably a little more for me up here in Canada. Oh, I didn't know you were Canadian. I seem to encounter a lot of Canadian content creators in my travels here on the internet. Just by coincidence, a lot of people I know that I've met that are streamers are Canadian. That's pretty funny. I'm not Canadian. I'm a filthy Yankee here down in the States, but yeah, so for you, it'd probably be closer to like 80 Canadian. Yeah, not to dox my friends, but the majority of my content creation friends that I've met are from Alberta. And that was just by coincidence. Okay, let's move this one. Pseudo scene girl hair. And work on another one. Actually, I can test out my other command since we're talking about that group. Is it EL? There we go. And there's a bot. Let me deal with that. Be gone. The Extra Life charity, which I participate in, is run by my friend Wazzy, who goes by Toxicure here on Twitch, YouTube, on the internet in general. And that's the content group that I've sort of affiliated with now. And the actual Extra Life event itself is next month, which is why I'm linking it. And I need to start promoting it more, because we will be doing a streaming event in the middle of the month where a bunch of us are going to be in one place up in Canada, and we'll be doing a bunch of gaming and other content streams over the course of the weekend to raise money for the Alberta Children's Hospital, which is the cause tied to that particular charity fundraiser. And so I'll be talking about it more, just to kind of get the promo and get the word out. And some cool stuff you can win too. Including a Switch 2. I should probably mention that too for people who are motivated by prizes. Donating to the Extra Life will enter you into a raffle to potentially win a Switch 2, which is cool. I will also be contributing something that I made, but I don't know if I can talk about it yet. So, actually, no, I can. I made a Perler sprite, which is something else that I do occasionally. I made a large worm on a string Perler. It's about 30 inches tall, that will also be raffled off as part of the prizes. And then I gotta figure out how to ship it, because it's tall. It's flat, but it's tall. I need to post a picture of that in the Discord too, so people know. October's shaping up to be a busy month. I have Extra Life in the middle of the month, and I don't know if I'll have a post that's going to go up everywhere, but my next music release is going to be in October as well, probably at the end of the month before Halloween. It is going to be a new BGM collection of instrumental tracks, royalty-free instrumental stuff, but it is my first remix album of tracks that were from a previous Halloween release 2 years ago. The collection for the release was called Blood Moon Rites. I am currently working on remixes for the entirety of those tracks, and so that's going to be debuting in October. That'll be here on stream. I haven't figured out when, because it's going to be after I get back from doing all the Extra Life stuff. So probably like the second to last or last week in October, we'll be showing that off. And that's the first time I've ever done a remix album of tracks, and it's turned out pretty well. So that is also something that's in the works. Busy times. And I'm on the wrong layer again. Wow, 3 reset the clocks in a row. I think it's because I'm working through these faces a lot faster than I was working through the outfits. But that's okay. Okay, let's finish up this last one. And then I'll put us pretty close to time for the stream today. We haven't done slicked back hair. Do that. I have a couple of locks that are just falling over the face here. But the idea is that the hair will be slicked back and maybe tied here like a low ponytail at the base of the head. Dee Dee says, I was going to go, but if you're wrapping up soon, I'll stick around until then. Okay, well, again, I know you just got off stream too, so feel free to take off if you need to, but usually for these drawing streams, we end up going about 2 hours, depending. I need to go take care of some stuff before it gets too late. But I do want to finish this last one, and then what we'll do is we'll do a quick wrap up of everything that we've done on stream, and then I will figure out who we can raid to spread the chill vibes to. Okay, let me space them out here so they're a little more even. Doesn't need to be perfect, but we have, okay, we started here. 3 faces. Again, these are a bit more kind of rough in design, but I do like just experimenting around with wacky hairstyles. So this will probably be the focus of a future stream. We'll see. These are all potential character ideas that we can use for stuff on future projects. But going back to the outfits, we got 4 of these done, which I think is pretty par for the course on productivity. If we did nothing but this, we probably would have got maybe 1 or 2 more done. But we've got 8 concepts out of 22. Again, something I mentioned earlier. For this universe of fiction, 11 races, 1 male, 1 female concept design per is the goal. So we are trucking along, almost a third of the way through. But I think we'll get there. We are due to switch back to creature concept designs at some point, since that's kind of more my bread and butter. I don't think you've been here when I've talked about it before, Didi, but I'm primarily a creature concept designer by history, but I want to get better at drawing like humanoid characters with like a manga inspired style, and that's the style that I want to adapt for this universe of lore and fiction that I write, more so than like the creature and monster designs. But that's what kind of spurred this process and these practice sessions here on stream, because I used to be a pencil on paper artist primarily, and then I switched to digital in like the mid 2000s. Didi says, really, creature designs? Neat. Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff where we've just played around on ideas and concepts on stream, and I've finished some actual rendered, like line art, color rendered things on stream as well. That was something else I was going to say if you were curious, since I don't really post my finished work anywhere else on the internet. That's also in the Discord. It's kind of a running chronology so that whenever I finish something, it can go there and live in the records forever. I don't have like a separate art site, like a Tumblr or a DeviantArt that I post all my stuff to. So that's why it lives in the Discord. But you know, I won't keep plugging the Discord. Feel free to join it if you want, but you know, don't feel compelled if you don't want to. One thing that I need to get back to is the Monster Hunter fusion designs, where we fuse different Monster Hunter creatures together to create something new. We started on some and I hit a bit of a block, but I need to go back there and work on finishing out those designs. The previous iterations of the Monster Hunter Fusion exercise we did back when I was much newer as a VTuber, we successfully finished a triple fusion project. That's also in the art archives. But let's make sure we saved. And let me go take a look at the homie list and see who is online that we can raid. Who is online today? It's Wednesday. Oh, I see. Mycelia is online. One of my fellow VTuber peers. She is an artist, but she also does games. And she's playing Soma. So that would be on brand, since we got raided by Didi, who was playing another horror type game. So we can go see how Mycelia is doing. So let me cue this up. We will pause the music and go to outro. And with that, we will consider it a mostly productive drawing stream today. And Didi says, I have joined the Space Bees. Oh, well, welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay. Again, my community is really chill, so they are also very welcoming, or else they'll get in trouble. But yeah, shout out again to Didi Raspberry for the raid. Much appreciated. We will be back tomorrow, barring any work shenanigans. We should be able to continue the Adventures of Link in the Adventures of Link 2. Adventures of Link Remastered. So until then, hope everyone has a good rest of your day, morning, evening, etc. And we'll catch you in the next one. Now let's go see how Soma's going on Mycelia's stream. I'll catch you folks later.